We're going to try this one more time. Maybe today might not be the day for this. But anyway, welcome back to the Bees Like That podcast. As always, I'm your host, Chris. And also welcome to the Bees Like That 12-week, the Bees Like That podcast, 12-week series on the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous and the impact and or effect that it's had on my life. A bit of the history of it, my understanding of each step, my process with each step, and here you go. Step one, admitting powerlessness. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol and that our lives had become unmanageable. Oh, where do I start with step one? My first experience with step one, I have to say, was when I was about 15 years old, and that would be the first time that I went to treatment. I wish that, no, I don't, but I don't know what my life would be like had that experience been the experience. You know what I mean? Had it stuck, but it didn't. It was just the first page in the long chapter, or a long book rather, that has been the novel, I should say, that has been my life. Let's start with understanding powerlessness. What does that mean within the context of Alcoholics Anonymous? For me, what that meant is my life with alcohol as my solution had gotten to a point where all of my decisions were based around alcohol. And no matter what had happened in my life, the things that had gone on, the things that were currently going wrong, all of the trips to jail, all of the trips to prison, all of the failed relationships, all of the lost jobs, all of the lost money, all of the burned bridges, all of the pain, turmoil, and wreckage that was caused due to my alcohol addiction didn't matter. Not that it didn't matter. It most certainly mattered. However, it didn't affect my decision to continue to keep drinking. That was until I had gotten to a point where, this is what I like to say about my life and admitting powerlessness and that it become unmanageable. I just got tired of fighting the wrong fight, right? Because life was whipping my ass, and this is something that I couldn't find it within myself to admit. I just over and over trying to find all the different ways around, trying to find, if at all possible, or if there was some kind of a workaround. But always, also, this is a peculiar part too. I always kind of knew, and this relates to a lot of things in my life. I always kind of knew with, I don't know if this has to do with growth. I don't know if this is just as simple as what I'm going to try to explain to you right now. But with every time that I attempted to get clean and sober, there was a very, very big part of me, most of me, that wanted that. I wanted something different. I wanted a life that didn't look like the one that I had. I didn't know how I was going to go about constructing that. I didn't know how long it was going to take. I didn't know how I would begin to heal. I didn't feel a connection to the program. I didn't feel a connection to the people. As I've shared before, I historically had an open defiance to any concept of religion or deity, any of that kind of stuff. I kind of recoiled. No, I did recoil from it, and I would think bullshit when I would hear people talk about their higher powers and stuff like that. So there was always this little part of me that just wasn't sure, that wasn't connected. And it wasn't doubt in the typical sense that I think a lot of us fear, just kind of like that natural anxiety, that natural fear of the unknown, right? Where, what if I can't pull this off, or what if I don't? No, I was certain, there was a small part of me that was sure that I wasn't going to work this. This wasn't going to be the time. I knew that. And I think that was one of the more frustrating things, is I kind of knew that. each one of these times. But I would play along. I would play the game, and I would go along with it and go through the motions and fake it till I make it, and just feeling super disconnected from, my family, my peers, my environment, and just, it's a really difficult experience to explain. But if you've had a similar experience, then you kind of know what I'm talking about. Cool. And that's crazy too, because I can look at the frustration in each of those experiences, right? Like getting locked up when I was 16 and doing 3.5 years, and thinking to myself, I know other people who've had that experience and who that was their bottom, and they were able to somehow pull it together. I had, over the course of my life and these experiences and mistakes, what I like to call moments of brilliance. But like I say, I always kind of knew that I would fuck it up. Like I always just kind of knew this wasn't going to be the one. That's not the point that I'm trying to make. So that wasn't the bottom, right? Well, when I got out and was out only 6 months and got rearrested for some new charges, this time going into Department of Corrections, I wanted it to be to be the bottom, but I just knew, like I say, in the back of my mind, all the good shit that will come out of my mouth when I'm talking to my family, my friends, about when I get out, how it's going to be different, I knew. There was a small part of me, like, I don't know, I've always had this kind of an insight into my life, I guess, and I just kind of knew. I had hope, but I just kind of knew that wasn't going to be it. So I get out, and I was out that time for a long time. I'd had some minor hiccups here and there, but nothing was too major. And then boom, again, get rearrested and on my way back to DOC. Now this, I would think in my mind, I'm like, this has got to be it. But I remember laying there and just crying and just wondering, like, feeling hopeless. Like this, there's probably a good chance that I'm just broken. Like that's just who and what I am. I remember, and having that conversation, like over the years in between that time, like being cool for like 90 days, getting, like I said, little county charges and like doing a little bit of county time and stuff like that. But and just watching my peers, even the ones that were like considered fuck ups, more or less, watching them pull out of it, and like they've got, working the same job for 3 to 5 years and they're not getting arrested, and a few of them got kids, and like they seem to be doing all right. And then there was the few that, they're my peers, but we weren't close, but same city, same school, stuff like that, and relatively the same socioeconomic status. Some of them, they have careers now. Like they went to college and they have careers now, and they're buying property and they have homes. And I'm looking at them like these are like the Bill Gates of my peer group. I ain't never gonna reach that. I'm just like on a perpetual bottom, right? So that's kind of like what I was feeling. And then just that pattern on repeat, and just wondering, like, where is the powerlessness that all of these people, where is this bottom that all these people keep talking about? Because I keep hitting these increasingly worse, what should be a bottom for me and would be for a lot of people. And I just know in the back of my head, and it's not subconscious, it's conscious. It's conscious. Like it's in the forefront of my mind. Like it's a conscious thought, And we can get deep off into the psychology about that, and like where that comes from is like self-hate, self-doubt, fear of success, whatever, comfortable in malady, and these other like fancy things that kind of button it up and excuse it for a young fellow like me. But still, man, I was, believe it or not, after my 6th suicide attempt, and my family was disrupted by the child welfare system, and I was kind of afraid because I didn't care anymore. A part of me like felt like it had just like died, and I was confused as to why I could successfully screw up tremendously well everything else in my life and the lives of those around me, especially the ones who depended on me, how I could epically fuck that shit up, but I couldn't even get suicide right. There's a debate to be had. There could be a debate there to be had about, my higher power had different plans for me. I have to believe that. Otherwise, my brain hurts. But I'll tell you what, man, let me keep going, because I've said this part of my story before. Standing on the corner in front of the library in downtown Everett. I don't know if that's the only one. That's the only one I know of. And there were, it just opened and people already had their spots in there, and, homeless and unsheltered people and addicted people there, and they're kicking it, and they got their spots and they got the outlets and this, you know what I mean? Like, I'm literally, like, I can't look down my nose at these people. I'm literally here with them. This is where I'm at. And I'm like, damn, this is crazy. And the only person that I had to call was an Everett police officer who was acting as a social worker as part of their damn it, I want to say deferment, but anyway, as part of this program down there. And that's the only person I had to call, and they came through for me. And like I've always said, I got my first 30 days in a hotel in Everett, the Econo Lodge. My first 30 days alone in the Econo Lodge in Everett, with the support of some cool ass people with the Everett Police Department, Salvation Army, and Evergreen Recovery, of course. But even then, I wasn't sure, but it was a different. Now I think it looked more like the uncertainty that I think that everyone else felt, not like this sure and like certain idea that I had in my head, like that I was never gonna fuck this up. And I'll tell you where I think the difference happened, and we'll continue with this step one, is, and this is counter a bit to some of the principles of this program about doing it for yourself, and that's the only way that it'll work. I'm not here to argue that point, but like I say, the difference I think is that I was like, all right, I feel like generally I'm just like a 280-pound piece of shit, and I don't have a lot. I don't assess a lot of value to myself, but I do to my kids and my wife. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold their best interests out in front of me for the first time, probably. I can't say first time ever, but like this is my it's this the fourth quarter, and I got all I got left is a Hail Mary, and this is literally my Hail Mary. So I wasn't holding myself out in front of me because, like I said, I don't know that were that the motivation that I'd be making this podcast episode right now. But since it's not, I think it is. So because of that, though, I was able to recognize, all right, bro, like some radical acceptance. Like, I never had gotten to that place before. And I think that's understanding powerlessness and the importance of honesty within myself, and understanding that this is the bottom. Like, this has to be the bottom. Like, you have to choose this. You have to define this. You have to call it out and make it so. Because we're not going to get another one of these. And you have people who are counting on you, and this isn't their fault. In some of the other things, well, at least the one other thing that helped me really understand how fucking powerless I was is that the state came along and was like, yo, these are ours now. Talking about my children. That's the most wild feeling in the world. Like, you want to talk about powerless? Nothing I've ever been through, nothing I've ever been through compares to that feeling right there. Nothing. It sucks that it had to get there to wake me up, but that's my story, and it's underdog. I'm not gonna, doctor it up and no added preservatives or, flavorings, that's just the way it is. And my story is such that it took that. The cool thing about admitting powerlessness and relinquishing that imagined control that you have over, or that I had over my addiction or my life for that matter, is that in that instant, with that acceptance and that declaration of powerlessness, in that instant, I became immeasurably powerful. Right, like powerful beyond measure. I didn't know it yet, but it was true. There's something that started stirring in me and working. And I think right now, today, like just this is what I'm seeing come through now is just, this is the seedling. We've not even begun to like sprout properly, into, like a sturdy sapling or, whatever that next stage of growth and maturation might be. But I'm excited for it, man. And it's fitting that being powerless is the gateway to immeasurable power, incalculable power. And so I was sitting watching, I don't know if y'all watch House of Cards, and I don't own any rights or intellectual property to that, and it's probably fucked up even mentioning it on the podcast, but I was sitting there watching it and just, the political acrobats and pole vaulting and shit, but just a trip that from where things were to where things are now, my largest concern, well, not my largest concern, but, day to day, day in, day out, my largest concern is like making sure that I hit my macros, but not going over, because I'm a like I say, a 200-pound man with a 300-pound appetite. But that's a significant departure from my most immediate concerns 6 years ago. It's crazy. And declaring the rock bottom, like picking that and saying, hey, this is it. This is going to be the turning point. And I believe, obviously, I believe that that's a reality because I did it. I didn't have to. I was in that hotel room all by myself, and I had a little couple dollars. I could have got, a couple little tall cans, and there would have been nobody the wiser. Shit, y'all don't even know. I could be lying my ass off right now. Could have been drunk the entire time and just got clean before, that didn't happen. But could have, but it didn't. So for anybody out there, man, going through the same thing, like if you're at that point, you're past the contemplative stage, and like maybe you've gone to a meeting or you've been at meetings, but you're still on the fence. You're still cagey. You still don't want to let people too close. Cool, you don't have to, not right away, but keep coming back, man. Keep coming back. I'm gonna tell you something. Like, I still feel that way a lot. Not unsure or cagey, but there's elements of me that I still have to work on, that of letting people in and letting people close. I recognize that isolating behavior is something that will keep me sick, so that's something that I work on a lot. But like I say, man, if you're new to this, just I hope you recognize that how you feel right now isn't going to be how you feel a month from now. It might be, but I doubt it. And it's certainly not going to be how you feel 90 days from now. And it's not going to be how you feel 6 months from now. It's not going to be how you feel a year from now. Chances are that 2 years from now, you're going to look into the mirror, still sober for another 24 hours, working a program, whatever that looks like. And you're going to recognize your eyes looking back at you, but you're going to also understand that you are a new creation. You're something brand new. And that was all born from admitting powerlessness. That's fucking crazy, man. That's fucking crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. If you think about it, that's a big ass trip. That's so wild. That's like the shittiest way I think to set it up, right? Because like that's, as addicts and alcoholics, what is it that one of the things that we want the most of? As much control or perceived control over our direct environment as possible, right? That's why we're always manipulating. That's why we're always lying. We're always positioning. We're always leveraging. We're always moving around, shifting, and, doing wild shit. Well, at least I was, doing wild shit, gaslighting people for this illusory or elusive, imagined amount of control that was never even actually there. Anyway, stay tuned for step 2 next Monday. And if you didn't do it on the way in, think about doing it on the way out. Hit that like, subscribe, post notification bell. Hell, share the hell out this video so you can stay up to date on all the cool, fun shit we talk about here on the Bees Like That podcast. Peace, y'all.